So today I'm covering the second part of my answer to the request that I received. The topic is relationships, and in this video I'm going to cover how relationships usually actually end up working, how things usually go as things stand now in terms of who we are as a species. So first of all, a lot of the failures that we experience in our relationships come from basically just a lack of understanding how we function within ourselves, where our thoughts come from, what motivates us, what makes up who we are, and then within that also understanding other people. So generally, when you meet someone who you are attracted to, usually what you're going to experience is those warm, fuzzy, fluffy feelings, intense excitement. You can't stop thinking about the person. Your whole life revolves around them. And if they like you back, wow, then it's just like amazing. Your life is suddenly perfect. They are the answer to all of your problems. They make you feel things that you didn't know you could feel. They make you brave to do the things that you've always wanted to do, etc., etc., etc. So the initial phase of a relationship is this energetic high, and also obviously the attraction. An intense physical kind of attraction is typical. Generally speaking, it's not like that in every single relationship, but I'm gonna stick with the more common relationship designs for this video. So this person now seems to be the answer to everything. They make your life suddenly worth living, and the attraction and the experience that we feel in that stage is going to be a mixture of causes or points that are driving it. You're going to have the physical drive, which is things like pheromones, and the physical attraction where your bodies are drawn to each other because of some there have been studies done on compatibility in terms of DNA, where two bodies recognize that their joining and procreation together would create a superior product, baby, in other words. Alright, so there's that physical drive. Then the draw that is where this person makes you feel all these things and makes you feel brave, and they're so amazing, and they are filling this hole inside of you. You feel complete now. That's now more to do with a reflection of our incomplete relationships with ourselves. All of these different things that we have not developed within ourselves, all these things that we have not given to ourselves, all of the opportunities for expression and exploration within ourselves in our lives that we have not taken, that now this person is triggering again. And because there's this energetic high that comes with a new relationship, the chances of us actually pushing through and taking the leap into the unknown is a bit higher. So there's that dimension, as well as we feel motivated to really be creative and to really push on the projects that we've been doing, and it's like we feel inspired, all because of this person. And in part, that's because we want to prove to them that we are worthy partners. In part, it's because we are generally experiencing this high and this motivation to live. And often what happens when you make a connection with a person who is, for example, very driven in their life, in order to feel like in order to make ourselves feel like there's a better chance that they'll like us and want to keep us around, we kind of will match up with whatever they're doing or how they're doing things. It's like this kind of adaptation in order to survive and thrive type of thing. Alright, so there's a lot of different dimensions going on there when you're meeting someone new. It's not necessarily as simple as finding a compatible match, because often compatibility cannot be determined in that state, in that energetic high, and when everything is so new and exciting and there's butterflies in your tummy, because you're not thinking clearly, you're not seeing things clearly, you're looking through this fog of lust and love and, well, not love, it's puppy love. Because real love is where you act in a way that is best for your partner and best for yourself, and puppy love is very seldom that. Puppy love is you acting in a way that they will love you more and appreciate you more, and where you're not going to make them angry and make them leave you, things like that. So this phase often passes. In order to assess compatibility, usually you have to either develop a relationship in a much more level-headed state, or you need to first be friends with someone and assess compatibility within that dynamic of having no expectations of yourself or of the other person, and also not having that fuzzy high ecstasy kind of feeling overriding all of your senses. So it's not a hard and fast rule in terms of assessing compatibility, but generally speaking, it is more effective to assess compatibility in that calm state. And yes, it can be done through the fuzz or after the fuzz, but very often by that time you realize that you're not actually compatible, because attraction does not equal compatibility. So often what happens when that high fades, you kind of crash back down to reality. You realize all of the things that you've been suppressing during that high of the things about your partner that you don't actually like, the things that irritate you about them, the things that you start doing with your partner that you don't like, the person you start becoming. Or sometimes it's even realizing that your partner is actually a douche and you were blinded by your intense physical attraction to them, whatever. So a lot of the time what happens is you kind of start coming back down to reality, and usually the incompatible partners at this stage will separate. Sometimes what happens is that kind of twisted, fucked up, kind of codependent, abusive relationships can develop from that point, with a very high physical attraction drive mixed in there, which is not pleasant for either. Or the relationship ends. Now, if there is a decent compatibility, often what happens is we don't actually have the communication skills and the relationship development skills to really sustain effective and supportive relationships. So even in the best compatible setups, we still have these tendencies to develop coping mechanisms to deal with the things that we don't really know how to direct, how to solve, how to correct in our relationships. So instead of having an open discussion with our partner about something like a certain behavior of theirs that we feel is not beneficial to them or to us, we suppress that and find a way to try and escape having to face that behavior, which obviously is uncomfortable, and after a good number of years you start building up quite a bit of resentment, and then you end up with what is quite common these days in these midlife separations, where things have gotten difficult and it's no longer that easy to look away from all the things that you've been suppressing and trying to avoid, that you haven't found an effective way to deal with. So instead of finding an effective way to deal with it together, they separate and start the whole thing all over again with someone new. Sometimes we learn from our past relationships, and those, obviously that's ideally what you want, is to learn from your mistakes, but that doesn't always happen. And very often we find ourselves recreating the same types of relationships, finding the same partners, developing the same issues, developing the same coping mechanisms over and over and over again, and ending up looking back on our lives and thinking, what just happened? Okay, I shall continue answering the request in the next video. Yes, there is more. Like I said in the first video, there were a lot of dimensions that the person opened up in their questions. So, if you have any questions, if you have any requests or comments, feel free to join the discussion or send me a direct message. If you'd like to support me, you can do so on Patreon or on Steemit, which is like a social network with its own cryptocurrency. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I will see you next time.